All right, so I'll go ahead and start off with the first question. It's been about a month since the release of your film. Why don't you go ahead and tell me a little bit about the aftermath?
Well, actually, those of you who got to see when we did the premiere here in El Paso, and then we did a green carpet in the Valley also, but Danny Trejo got to come here to El Paso, and Renee Victor and Andy Chang. It was very special. I got to tell you, it was very emotional for me because trying to actually save the movie itself was quite a challenge, and it took a while to get it ready and get it to the level where we can make it to the big screen. So I was going, oh, come on, don't give me a bad review. And sure enough, we didn't get any bad reviews. So, which was, thanks God. And we actually got some wonderful reviews. The Austin Chronicle, if you look up the review of the Austin Chronicle, review of Green Ghost and the Master of the Stone, it was pretty cool. They gave us a great write-up, thank God, and it said it's not Marvel, but it's marvelous. So, it's still in theaters in my markets. I mean, because we didn't spend the money to keep it in the theaters all around the state, but it came out in over 150 theaters, I believe, and so it was in a lot of markets for like a week because nobody was advertising it. But in my markets, it's still out being advertised, and it's still in the theater. So it's actually beating out some of the other big movies. So in our markets. So we're going to move on now to phase 2, which is the video on demand, and I believe we're going to do that on. June 28th. So June 28th is when we're going to do the video on demand release, and then I'm working right now to do the Spanish dubbed version of the movie for Mexico. So in Mexico and Latin America, not just Mexico. So the core of the characters in the movie that I'm going to do, they call it doblaje. They're going to be Mexican voices. I'm going to do my own voice in Spanish, of course, because I speak Spanish. That's the whole point of the Green Ghost and his Latin-based secret group of superheroes, and he's the anti-hero. So I'll be doing my own voice in Spanish. I think that's the first time in the history of movie making that's been done. I'm not sure, but I'm going to try to find out. And number 2, Renee Victor, of course, is going to do her own voice, and she was the voice of the Abuela in Coco. So her to do her own doblaje in Spanish is going to be fantastic. So you've got, and then Kuno Becker, he wants to do his own voice. So he's Mexican, not Mexicant, Mexican. And so, then Marcos Arror, he's from Chile, and he plays the Contraencante, the Maya apocalypse in the movie. And he's going to do his own voice. So we hired the company. We're in the process right now of contratando, hiring, and the company that did the Spanish dub version of Shrek. So that's the one with Eugenio Derbez doing the voice of the burro that was Eddie Murphy before. So when they did that was so huge. I mean, it went, and that's why I said when I saw that, I watched it, and I saw the albur that they put in there. So it's a little bit of adult humor that the kids weren't going to get, but I said, wow, I can really knock it out of the park with that for my Mexican public, because at the end of the movie, it's dedicated to my nana, who's from Montemorelos, Nuevo León, Mexico, So, and then beyond that, to my Mexican American family, because all my businesses are on the border, and 95% of all my team members, I have 600 team members in our dealerships and production company, approximately, and I only have like 4 gringos. So it's part of my makeup of who I am, and then again, most of my customer base as well. So it's dedicated to all of them and all of you, and beyond my nana. So we've gotten the reviews, and now we're set with the Texas release in theaters. Now we go to video on demand, and then we go to Mexico, South America, and Latin America.
That's fantastic.
and maybe overseas. We don't know where. Maybe Spain, maybe Italy. It's looking like Hong Kong is on the map now for us because Andy Chang, who plays Master Hong in the movie, he's the action director for Shang-Chi. I mean, he's huge. So and he was Jackie Chan's stunt double for 20 years. So just having him there, we might be able to get into, and our fight scenes, he helped us with them as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, that you kind of touched on it a little bit, but has Nana been able to see it? And if so, what's her response?
Okay, so Nana is 99 years old now, and I've shown her little bits, and I've shown her the trailers, and I've shown her some pieces. It's hard for her to stay focused on it for a long period of time because of her age. But what I'm planning on doing, my goal is that I want to watch that movie, our movie, in Spanish, the Spanish dub version, with my son, my son barely speaks English, so that's what's really funny. And my son barely speaks English, and my Nana, who doesn't speak much English at all, I want to watch the Spanish dub version with both of them by my side.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Let me see. So yeah, you talked a little bit about the VOD on demand.
Yes.
El Paso was really blessed to go ahead and host the premiere for this movie. What was the takeaway from your fellow actors? You know, what did they think about the city itself, the people, the environment?
They absolutely, Danny Trejo told me to my face, he said, "This is the funnest time I've ever had at a movie premiere." This is the star of Machete.
Right.
I mean, come on. He said this is the funnest time he's ever had. They loved the hotel, you know, because people don't really know. I didn't know when I came to El Paso how cool downtown El Paso is. Stay at the Plaza Hotel there, and I'm going, they were like, wow, everything around here is really cool. You know, it's got history, lots of history, huge, and then it's really nice at the same time. So it's kind of got this swagger. It's got a coolness to it that they loved. Renee Victor, who played my Nana in the movie, she loved it. She's like, I can't believe this place. I love it here. And Andy Chang too. He was with his wife and he was freaking out, you know, so he was really happy. They loved the premiere being in El Paso. I think it was a perfect fit. It was a perfect fit for us. We've been in El Paso for 5 years, but I feel like we've been in El Paso for more than a lifetime. That's the connection I feel and the cariño I feel from El Paso and Juarez and Nueva Mexico.
That's fantastic. And I guess the biggest question that we kind of all want to know, is there a part two? Is there plans of a part two?
If you all, I think first we need to do a documentary about how we completed this movie, because if you saw where it was and what it ended up being, that's interesting. That's an interesting story, because I feel like I have just given birth to be honest with you. It took me 7 years to correct and to keep correcting and keep looking for advice. And it taught me a big lesson. You know, it's like when I started in business, all the things that could go wrong did go wrong. And when I did my movie, I thought, I've been doing TV for years, local TV, and making a movie will be easy. It's no big deal, no problem. I was like, oh no. And especially when you're dealing with, I wasn't dealing with professionals. I mean, they weren't very good at what they did at all. So I started off, if I had you know, some real help and proper direction, I would have been in a lot better position. But thank God, you know, we did get some great performances out of the actors. We had a great cameraman. We had a great lighting guy. So it was like we ended up investing in the equipment to make the movie look big. And then I had to, of all the stuff we shot, the movie was originally shot under a whole different story. I had to create a movie out of a movie and without shooting new scenes. So I had to use the footage we already had shot and create a whole nother movie. And the plot holes that were there were filled in with a cartoon. So part 2 is a good question. I want to see what kind of response we get. The kids and the families seem to have loved the movie. I have some of my top people looking into the response that we're getting from the community. And I've heard a lot of people walk up to me and say, hey, thanks for having your premiere in El Paso, and the community seems to really appreciate it, which makes me feel good because I wanted you all to feel good because you all have made me feel so at home here. I mean, I love being here. I absolutely love it. And I want to encourage other businesses from out of town. I want to, say, ven acá al Paso, like, you got so much to offer here. It's unbelievable. The downtown, Fort Bliss, I mean, the mix of people that we have here, and I feel like I'm right at home because, again, all my businesses are on the border. And I was born in McAllen, and now we came all the way to El Paso, and now we came back to Laredo. So the businesses are all up and down the border, but only on the border, which I love. I'm right at home. So, yeah, we'll see if we can do part 2. I mean, I've got some other documentaries. Some very strange, interesting things happened during the filming of the movie. I moved the movie to Chile to finish post-production. So what happened down there was very mystical. Mystical things had happened, working with the indigenous tribes down there, indigenous medicine and stuff like that. Created a big shift in myself. So whereas I had one intention going into the movie, I'm going to be in Hollywood and this and that, now it's like, I don't care about that. I care about the fact that I got it accomplished, and it was wonderful for the branding, and the branding itself is saying, hey, I don't take myself that seriously. I'm making fun of being a gringo superhero, and so that's part of my Mexican side, which is making fun of this costume I have on, which is my gringo costume. So that's the whole point of the film, and dedicating it to my nana, and who helped get me here and helped me be the man that I am today. But I think with the experience I have now and actually going through all the hell that I did, if I were to do something else, it'd be a lot easier and I'll be a lot more effective at it, a lot more. So I'm looking forward to getting the Mexican people really pumped up about this because it hasn't been released in Mexico yet, and South America and Dominican Republic and Central America. I'm gonna have it in every household throughout Latin America. I'm gonna have it in Spain, Italy, I hope. So it's growing now. We planted the seed in Texas because it was a Texas baby, and it was born here, raised here, released here in the theaters. And this is at a time too where we're coming out of a period where not many people were going into the cinemas, and other than that, going up against the Doctor Strange and the big movies that are spending multi-millions of dollars to get people into the cinema, we didn't have those resources, and but we still got a great response. And for just getting it done for me was like the biggest relief. I mean, that's my takeaway. You asked, what's my takeaway? It's like, I got it done. I just got it done. It's not even about the money right now. It's like, it's just the release there. So yeah, I mean, people are asking, we'll see. I know I'm going to do other projects. I want to do some documentaries. I'd like to do a documentary about this process, and then maybe look into doing something else, but we'll see. I'm going to have to, we'll see. But I appreciate everyone's support. And if you haven't seen Green Ghost and the Masters of the Stone, dame chance, por favor. And it's coming out video on demand soon, but it's still in the theater if you haven't seen it yet.
Well, I guess my last question that I would have for you, and this is more of a personal one.
Sure.
To other independent filmmakers and other independent artists out there, what would be the one, and I know it's kind of vague and hard to go ahead and sum it up to one piece of advice. What's the strongest piece
I know
of advice?
I know what you mean.
What's the strongest piece of advice you could give to independent creators that you took away from this production itself?
There's lots of people with dreams. I mean, look at where Robert Rodriguez started, for example. And I was always after Robert Rodriguez to direct me or work with me in some way. And then I ended up with his brother and his sister, and I met him, and I was at his premiere of Machete. He didn't work on my film, but I reached as high as I could, and I got as close, and I hung on as tight as I could. So the point is, you reach as far as you can. Everybody said, no, there's no way you'll be able to make a movie. You're a car guy. Nobody's going to take you seriously. You're not going to get any actors that are going to act with you. Why would they act with you when you haven't done anything you haven't been in the movie industry? You've only done local TV. And so everybody, try to keep you, the little crabs in a bucket, and try to pull you back down. But I would just say, the more to get it actually completed, and you have to have a really good idea. You have to have a really, really great. It starts with a great script, and if you don't have a great script, which I have to say, I had a great story, and then there were holes in my script, and I had to go back and fix, and it took me a few years to get it straight. So I would say my advice is, you got to have a vision, you got to have discipline, and you've got to take the hits and just keep going. I got hit so many times, just like I kept getting up like blood all over. It's only a flesh wound, but you know, and that's how I felt. I mean, and so it just like starting in business as an entrepreneur, it was also hellacious, getting knocked down, and that's the difference between, you know, when you have to earn it and you have to start from scratch, you're just a different person. You just are. If somebody hands you everything and hands you all the money to do it, it's not the same. You're not the same. Right. And you don't have the same level of commitment and true grit. And that's what I would say, independent filmmakers, have a really strong script. It can't be half-assed. That's the part you gotta, boom, that's your core. If you don't have a good concept there, you're not gonna get investors to look at it. You're not gonna, that's where you have to begin. And I would just say, get ready to get knocked down a bunch of times. And when you keep getting knocked down, keep getting back up and keep getting back up. Because they told me, Charlie, forget about your movie, it's done. There's nothing you can do to fix it, it's already been shot. Oh, really? No, you might as well write it off, forget about it. Why? I got plenty of footage. I could cut something together. Whatever's missing, I'll put a cartoon in there. What did they do in Kill Bill? I mean, not that he had I'm not comparing myself to Quentin Tarantino, but I'm saying he at least put a cartoon in part of it. I don't know whether he did that just for design, but or for artistic, probably for artistic choice. But you know, I had to create a cartoon for another reason. I had a bunch of plot holes. But it's been interesting, and I would just say, you know, I'm not trying to sound like typical, just stick to your dreams, but you really do have to keep your dream in your mind every day, and know that you have to have a team around you that's going to help you get this done. And you start off, you know, if you have a low budget film, it's got to pop. If you look at some of these creative filmmakers that have done, like the Blair Witch Project, think about that. They got a little home camera, they came up with something, and that thing was actually scary. And it did great in the theater. And then everybody else tried to copy them and do their little home things and this and that. And some of them were pretty good, Paranormal Activity and all that, you know. But when you don't have the money to do it, you have to be very creative. And, you know, I didn't have that much money to do it. Yeah, I was a car dealer, and yes, I had but I have multi-millions of dollars to do a film. So I was struggling too, you know, to get my own movie put together. But it's a lot harder when you don't have the money to do it. You really have to be creative. And that's what's so interesting about the human spirit and creativity and coming up with ways to make it happen in our society and in this industry. But you know, I'm just happy that I was able to get into the business and finish my project that I took for granted. I took it for granted that it was going to be easier. It was way harder than I thought. Way harder. So I never took the time to do the training though. I never took script writing classes. I had an acting coach. I took acting lessons from Will Smith's acting coach, who worked with Will Smith and Gerard Butler and Virginia Madsen. His name is Aaron Spicer. So I did take that seriously, the acting side, but there's a lot more to making a movie than the acting side. So what I skipped, it's like what I skipped in college almost cost me my business in real life. You know, like I skipped accounting, and then I almost had myself go broke several times because of what I didn't know in accounting. And I told my friends, my fraternity brothers, I'll hire somebody to do that. And then you hire the wrong person. And you're like, oh crap, you don't know what to look for. see ya, you're out of business. So, don't take for granted the things that, take shortcuts. I took some shortcuts on a few things that almost cost me everything. And I learned it's like my banker told me when I needed a loan to keep myself afloat in business. I needed a working capital loan. I went to him, sir, here's what I'm fixing, and I'm short about,
X amount of dollars.
1.5 million to stay afloat. I'm tired of throwing money at this damn thing. Said, you either get it straight, or I'm going to walk your competitor down there and sell it to him. He said, I appreciate you getting an education in the University of Life, but I don't want to have to pay the damn tuition. I said, yes, sir, I'll get it straight. Now, you learn every part of that business. What you don't know, go learn, so that's what I started as an entrepreneur. And
we can go ahead and take that same approach and put it
yes,
into the filmmaking
that's what I'm
process
saying.
as well.
Like, same thing. What I skipped in college hurt me in business a little bit. I mean, I survived, but barely. Almost lost it all several times. But now on this filmmaking side, yes, there was so much I don't know, and so much I still don't know. But I know enough now to be dangerous, like I could do, and I could work with those. Like, I know better. I know how to surround myself with people that are more talented at something than I am. I'll find a great writer to help me build a script this time instead of thinking I can write. If I do something else, I'm going to get an excellent writer to work by my side. And then I am a very creative guy, and then I'm going to still listen to their ideas. I'm not going to say I know it all, but I'm a creative person. That's I can tell you for sure. But do I know how to structure a script? No, I don't. So I learned, and I just say, try to get the best education in all these aspects. So when you go to film school and you go to, you study the arts, try to learn as much about every aspect of production as you can, and don't take any of it for granted. You're going to have strong suits. Some people are going to be stronger at some things than others. I'm stronger at some things than others, but then you get somebody with you that's better at that than you are, and realizing that, not trying to be cocky and say, oh, it's my artwork, it's my movie, it's my, artists have a tendency to be a little bit like that, a little bit arrogant about their knowing, this sort of know-it-all attitude sometimes. And there's others that are humble and say, hey, I'm open. And, I like that about working with a team of talented people. Now that I started off with a not so talented team, and then I ended up with a pretty talented team. So yeah, I just say it's mainly about getting knocked down. Everybody says you got to get back up. It's how you get back up. It's how you get back up. You've heard that so many times, but I swear to God that I don't have any other message. I don't have any other way to tell you this, but that's how it works. Most people get knocked down 2 or 3 times, they stay down. And if you have a dream and you say, well, just forget about it. Just go back to doing what you were doing. Forget about your dream. And then you lose that passion. That's the difference between the small percentage of people that make it in whatever they do, and they do it well, and those who just go by the wayside and give in and sort of settle for whatever. And I'm very, 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 very blessed to have the team that I have around me now, for my production team and in the sales, in the whole organization, the Charlie Clark Automotive Group, Orale Charlie Productions. What a relief, though, to get this done. But anybody, anybody has any questions or comments, send me, hit us up, you got Orale Charlie Productions. You can send us an email at Orale Charlie Productions, Charlie Clark Automotive Group. And if even though it's not about a car, just say, hey, I want to talk about something to do with production. Do you have questions? We'll respond back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. My pleasure.